Good morning, folks. Paul Cappiello back here at Yew Dell Botanical Gardens again, and my assignment this morning was to do a tree tour by video, and Lindsay should know better than to turn me loose in the arboretum with a camera and a bunch of trees in bloom. But pretty fantastic morning out here. It's a little cloudy, but still a beautiful morning. Lots of stuff in bloom, and we're going to start off with the weeping cherry, Prunus subvertella pendula. One you see all over town every year in bloom. What's kind of unique about these right by our entrance is that I had these propagated where they were bottom grafted, so they don't look like those silly umbrellas that you see all over town that are grafted 5 or 6 feet up off the ground. You graft them down at the ground, you get a really nice graceful looping trunk, and so much better than those silly umbrella things. Friends don't let friends plant top grafted weeping cherry trees. So Prunus subvertella pendula, nice weeper right at the entrance. We'll loop around here now toward the arboretum. Of course, it is redbud season. This is one of those dark bloom, dark foliage forest pansy you see around town with the dark burgundy foliage, but pretty outstanding flowers right now. Not much in the fragrance department, but really excellent color. Of course, there's whites and bubblegum pinks. There's all kinds of things. We're going to wander around a little bit more. There's a couple more red buds out here in the corner. Actually, I'm walking right now under a larch, and we'll be back next week to do this, but the larches are really cool when they start to leaf out, and they get these cool little purple pollen cones later in the spring, but we'll be back later. That's a European larch, but a couple of red buds. Hard to see today because of the clouds, but the white form of the native redbud. Sadie's actually checking out one. This is kind of cool. She's marking one. It's a white redbud, but you can see years ago it sent up a shoot from below the graft, and so that's the wild type that we're actually going to cut out later on in the season, so we leave the white cultivar there. But the white redbuds are beautiful. Tough to beat a redbud this time of year. They're always pretty fantastic. We'll give you a close-up of the whites, and this is just alba. It's not a named cultivar. It's just the white form. Nice color. All right, what else can we find out here in the arboretum? Walking through the dogwood section, and the dogwoods are just getting started. I'll show you here. This is one of the native flowering dogwoods. They've still got a few warm days to go. It's supposed to be 80 degrees today, so they will take off and do some pretty cool things in the near future. But what I want to do is get up under here toward the magnolia section. I know we did magnolias already, but one of the things people forget is that magnolias don't just all bloom at once. There's Elizabeth up ahead there, beautiful pale yellow form. Always one that does extremely well. A little tree that's tucked in here most people don't ever see is another little cherry. This is Prunus holly jolivet. It's a hybrid that was introduced by the Arnold Arboretum years ago, and just got these nice little delicate pink flowers, not much fragrance. It's kind of one of those, can't decide whether it wants to be a tree or a shrub. This was a real popular plant 30-40 years ago. It's kind of fallen out of favor, but it's a good dependable bloomer, and nice color. All right, back into magnolia world. All right, here I mentioned Elizabeth. I'll give you a close-up of the flower. It's one of the more pale yellows, but good color and really good vigorous growth. It'll make a 40-foot tree over time. And then I want to wander out here because this other yellow is one that's just opening now, and this is Gold Star, and you can see where the name comes from. Looks a lot like the star magnolia, but a little bit of yellow color to it. A little darker when it's first coming out. Sorry about my finger in the way. But if I walk back here, here's Gold Star. Kind of sparse blooms right now because they're just opening, but as I go up, it's every bit of 40 feet, 45 feet tall. That makes a fantastic tree. The way I look at it is, if you're going to plant a shade tree, why not plant a shade tree that can do that and fill fill the spring with nice yellow blooms. All right, a few more magnolias, but one other one I want to get to over here to show you is not a magnolia, but a cherry. Now, you've probably seen these around town, but probably not seen one this large. This is the Kwanzan cherry, Prunus seriolata Kwanzan with a K. It's an Asian cherry, and it's got this typical vase-shaped habit. This is another one of those, for some bizarre reason, when you buy them in the nurseries, they're grafted about 5 feet up, and it looks like sort of a broomstick or something. You just get this straight trunk and then a big weird-looking wedge of branches at the point where it's grafted. But when they're grafted down at ground level, you can see it just makes this beautiful sort of dome-shaped tree. And then the pink blooms are like little pink carnations, and fantastic kind of bronzy foliage. It's really double. Again, it's one of those pinks that it's almost like the Steel Magnolias movie where Julia Roberts got married and her colors were blush and bashful, and Olympia Dukakis said it looked like somebody dumped a case of Pepto-Bismol in the church. It's a real bright pink, but I call this one of those guilty pleasure plants. It's just, it's happy. Great foliage, great blooms. So Prunus seriolata Kwanzan, nice big later blooming cherry. Another fun little thing going on in here is we're a little on the early side, so we'll see these probably next week. But this is one of the first buckeyes to bloom in this area. This is Aesculus pavia, the red buckeye, and in about another day or two, these things are going to open up to really just intense red blooms. Nice delicate foliage, that typical buckeye leaf, and a nice medium tree. It's going to get 18-20 feet tall. It's a central US native, and a good tree. And actually pavia is one of the buckeyes that is really good about holding its foliage late in the summer. A lot of the buckeyes get that foliar disease that kind of takes all the leaves off, but that one's actually quite a good one. All right, I'll do a couple more while I've got you out here, just because it's fun and I've got the camera. So I'm going to walk you up here, and this isn't necessarily a tree, but just because I'm here and it's viburnum season, you can't do an arboretum walk without viburnums. This is a Theodore Klein selection. It's not gotten a lot of press, but it's similar to the Korean spice viburnum and a few others. This is one he called East because it was a seedling on the east end of the row of seedlings. And you can see the typical for this type, real dark sort of carmine red in bud, and then as they pop open, they're pale pink or white. Tremendous fragrance. Here, we can show you the label. There's Viburnum East. This is an open pollinated seedling of Viburnum carlocephalum. So what we know is that the seed parent or the mother parent was Viburnum carlocephalum. We don't know what the pollen parent was because they were just open pollinated seedlings. West is one that we've propagated a whole lot. It's the sister seedling to it, and it has much larger blooms. So that's a little treat. And then just closing shot of the arboretum, good old blood good Japanese maple, doing a super job as it always does. One of the best long-term, been around forever. A few more viburnums in the foreground, but that's probably it for today. So go out and enjoy the trees. Bye-bye.